Hi everyone, my name is Erin Hart. I do weekly YouTube videos and post daily on Facebook and Instagram to educate and inspire. I started this channel in my business for people who are doing bright line eating and struggling with their program, or people who want to do bright line eating and they feel overwhelmed and confused with it all. I remember feeling that way and I want to help. I'm not affiliated with Brightline Eating at all, but my life has been changed because of it, and I love the lifestyle. It's been a while since I talked about my story, and some people who are new to my channel and social media may be thinking, like, who is this person? And why should we listen to her? So I just want to share with you my experience with overcoming food addiction, losing 125 pounds, and clarify to you why I'm here and why I'm doing all of these videos and posts. So ever since I was a kid, I remember feeling self-conscious and being teased about my body and my weight, and I have always loved to eat. Food has always been a dear friend of mine, and I was really overweight. But I feel really blessed because my mom is the best, and I'm so thankful for her because despite of my insecurities, I still always had this sense of self-worth, and she would always build me up and tell me that I was special and beautiful and talented. She's seriously the best mom ever, and I'm so grateful to her because even though I was self-conscious about my weight and my body, my mom had given me this gift of knowing that I was more than a body. And as I came into adulthood with Weight Watchers, I reached a healthy weight and was fairly active and had it pretty well under control. I still remember feeling like I needed to lose weight, but I was healthy and I must have had a good metabolism because I still love to eat. And I started packing on the weight after I got married. The stress of nursing school and working full-time in the hospital, having kids, using food to cope with the stresses and emotions of life combined with the lack of exercise resulted in me starting to gain a lot of weight. I have 3 little girls, and with each pregnancy, I gained 50 to 60 pounds, and I'd only lose 20 to 30 pounds after, and it just compounded until I was 306 pounds the day I delivered my 3rd baby girl. I would eat over every emotion and every occasion. I was obsessed with food. I lived to eat, and even though I knew it was killing me, I couldn't stop. I would eat massive amounts of food at my kids' nap time or at night after putting the kids to bed, and I always ate that way in secret and felt so ashamed after that I couldn't get it under control. I had tried so many diets to help me to lose weight, and I was a nurse, for heaven's sake. I knew what to do and how to eat. I knew what was healthy and that eating this way was hurting me, but I couldn't stop and I just felt powerless. And that is how you know that you're a food addict, when you know it's hurting you and you do it anyway. So when it's not pleasant and it makes you sick, you just can't stop. But at that time, I couldn't see that. So I didn't recognize that I had a food addiction problem. I just thought that I ate too much. It was such a painful time in my life. Being a caregiver to my ICU patients in the hospital and caregiver to my kids wasn't easy. And I used food like a drug to help me to feel better instead of facing my emotions and my problems head on. My husband was and is so loving and kind and accepting of me. He has loved me through it all at every size. He has never said anything to make me feel bad about myself or to criticize me. Even though I had gained 120 pounds since we got married, he's always made me feel like the most beautiful person in the world, and I'm so thankful for him. He's the most encouraging, giving, and loving person, and I always tell him that he gives me wings to fly. I'm grateful that I maintained that self-worth instilled in me by my mom and my husband through it all. You know, I always saw myself for who I really am, a daughter of God and a beautiful mother, a hardworking nurse, a loving and dedicated wife. I knew and I know that God loves me and that I have worth. But at that time in my life, I had this disconnect between who I was inside in my body. And I remember this scene of my life when I was at my heaviest, sitting in my room, and I looked up into the mirror and I didn't recognize the person staring back at me. It was the strangest thing. My body didn't reflect who I was on the inside, and it bothered me, not because of vanity, but more because of the lack of authenticity. And I remember thinking, like, how did this happen? How did I let this happen? So at my heaviest, I remember the pain I felt getting out of bed and how hard it was for me to walk up the stairs or to see my baby drop a toy on the ground, and just the dread of having to bend over and pick it up. I was always just too tired to play with my kids and felt guilty because of that. And I really isolated myself from other women and moms because I just felt so ashamed. And I was always the heaviest person there. I lacked confidence and I just felt really weak. I was sad and at times depressed, and I wore baggy clothes to hide myself. I was always hiding from my friends, hiding my eating behaviors, hiding my body. It was very lonely. And after seeing myself in the mirror that day, when my reflection looked so foreign to me, I decided that enough was enough. I was sick and tired, and I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And the pain of continuing on that path was too great for me to bear any longer. I had an amazing family, the most beautiful little girls, and because of my experience working in the hospital as a nurse for 13 years, I recognized that I had signs of prediabetes. And continuing on this path would lead me to an early death, a poor quality of life, and disability, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to be the mom I wanted to be for my little girls, and that I wouldn't be able to be there for them when they needed me and in the way that they would need me in the future. So I gathered my courage and I swallowed my pride, and I posted a vulnerable post on the Moms Helping Moms Facebook group for my church, asking if anyone knew of a program that could help me to lose 120 pounds. I had tried and failed countless times at other diets, but I had this glimmer of hope that just maybe I could change. I got 100 responses, and several people recommended Brightline Eating to me. I'd never heard of it and was curious. I decided to read the book. I ended up reading the book 3 times because it rang so true to me. I was scared. I lacked confidence. I couldn't imagine a life without flour and sugar. It seemed impossible for me to be able to lose all of my excess weight. But being in that rock bottom place was the catalyst that I needed to finally change. And having a deep purpose of wanting to be there for my girls as they grew up gave me the courage to start. I started scared. I started without confidence, but I started. It was uncomfortable. But if you want your life to change, if you want to change, you have to take massive action. We have to take uncomfortable action. I remember how bad that first week of detox was, and while I didn't identify with the food addiction part of the book when I read it those 3 times, after going through detox, I realized that my brain really did have a dependence on those substances. Giving them up produced withdrawal symptoms similar to the withdrawal symptoms of patients that I'd cared for in the hospital that were withdrawing from drugs or alcohol or different medications, and I was so shocked by that. I had no idea. And to this day, more than 1.5 years later, I still stay far away from sugar and flour because I don't ever want to go through that detox again, that withdrawal again. I haven't been perfect, but I consider sugar and flour to be toxic to me. And I was so sick when I ate that way. Like, look at my before and after picture. You can see the difference of that just living without those substances for 1 year made in my life. But what you can't see in my before and after pictures is the dramatic change that happened inside. My physical transformation was so dramatic, losing 125 pounds in less than 1 year, but just as dramatic was the mental, emotional, and spiritual transformation as well. we have to take uncomfortable action, as Tony Robbins says. I jumped all in with Brightline Eating and I followed the program as it was written. I suffered through the detox that first week, and I struggled through those first few weeks and experienced the pain of all of the feelings that come with learning to feel my emotions and to face my problems head on, instead of using food to numb myself. For me, that was the hardest part, but after time, and it didn't take long, maybe a few weeks or a month, I started to feel free and I started to have peace. And it's always the hardest at first, like a rocket ship going to space. It takes 90% of the fuel to get 20 feet off the ground, right? It takes effort to start. It's uncomfortable, but the discomfort is temporary. And after time, it starts to feel easier and more effortless. You start to build those mental muscles, that mental fortitude and that momentum. After time, it started to feel easier, and eventually it felt effortless. So you're building mental muscles and mental fortitude. And after time, instead of focusing on the food, I began to be able to look outside of myself and to see the needs of other people in my life and to start to dream again. My future started to open up. The food fog lifted, and slowly I began to see myself in the reflection in the mirror. And I remember the intense cravings at the beginning and having to leave the kids with my husband so I could just go walk around the block so I wouldn't eat. And I remember finding myself in the afternoon with this empty void that I used to fill with food and not knowing how to deal with that time when my baby was sleeping. I learned to say no to people. I had to focus on my own health before I could take anything else on. I took a lot of naps and bubble baths. Losing weight is hard on your body. I was tired at first and I cried sometimes, and I would stay up late into the night because it was the only time I had a moment to myself all day with 3 little kids. I had to stay up until midnight, planning my meals, journaling to process my emotions, and meal prepping. I would pray late into the night every day, asking for God to help me to achieve my goal of losing 120 pounds. I took time to just be still and listen. I'd ask God if there's anything that He wanted me to know or do. And I just received this flood of personal revelation, more than I'd ever experienced before. I consider that my greatest non-scale victory. My ability to hear God's voice in my life increased dramatically as I freed myself from the chains of food addiction. I felt Him give me strength when I was weak, strength above my own. I cut back on my hours at the hospital, and I worked every weekend so that I wouldn't have to work night shifts anymore. And I had to reprioritize my life and communicate with my family and my friends and extended family that I needed their support. People thought I was weird for giving up sugar and flour. Some people didn't believe I could do it. And it was just another diet that I'd probably fail at. And while that hurt, I am grateful because it lit a fire inside of me and it fueled my desire to prove them wrong. The pounds started to melt away and I celebrated every single small victory. I lost 125 pounds, 5 pounds at a time. Every 5 pounds I would do something fun to celebrate, and I'd plan something I'd look forward to, something to treat myself. I always tell my clients how important it is to celebrate every success and to find joy in the journey. Love yourself at every stage. It's not a destination, it's a journey. After time, I started to build this positive momentum that came from keeping the promises that I was making to myself, eating what I wrote down the night before, making habits and sticking to them. And I gained confidence that way. What seemed impossible to me at first eventually seemed inevitable. And I just focused on the process, and the weight took care of itself. It went from taking so much effort and determination to becoming easy and almost effortless. After a short time, the cravings went away and my hunger dramatically decreased, and I got this burst of energy that I rode that wave of positive momentum all the way to my goal. surrounding myself with support from my online community and resources. I created a mastermind group when I was almost to my goal. They, along with an amazing sponsor, have helped me so much with the transition to maintenance, which was a lot harder than I thought it would be. I was so thankful to have them to help me through that process. I now, at the time of this recording, have been living in a healthy-sized body for the past 9 months, and I wake up with an abundance of energy and confidence and hope. And I can run and play and keep up with my kids. I only have one size of clothes in my closet. I can cope with life without abusing my body with food. And I have a mental fortitude that came as a result of this process. My focus has shifted from living to eat and being obsessed with food to nourishing my relationships and my body and chasing my dreams. I have new big dreams and goals and purpose in my life. I started my own business. I can ski and hike with my kids, and we have dance parties in the kitchen with my girls after dinner. We laugh and we play together, and I'm more present for them physically and emotionally. My husband, parents, and siblings have all been influenced by my journey, and they have naturally wanted to follow. Between my siblings and my parents and me, we've lost more than 350 pounds combined. So my daughters are learning to like to eat healthier. It's still a process, but it takes time. But what I am most grateful for is that when I look in the mirror, I see myself. It's not about vanity, but authenticity. I feel that my true divine nature is reflected in my countenance. I have so much more confidence, and I've showed my girls that we can do hard things, that, it may seem selfish to focus on my own health for that year, but it was the best gift that I have been able to give to my family and to my daughters. It's not a destination, it's a journey. I am not perfect. I never was or will be. I am still just another food addict. There are still days that I struggle and I want to revert back to old behaviors and habits, but I don't let those moments stop me. If I slip up, I just immediately course correct and keep going. I don't dwell on it or beat myself up. I just reach out for support and do some self-reflection and try to seek the lesson and then move on. I just get back up when I fall down and look forward, not backward. I am unstoppable and I'm never going back. My life is so much better without sugar and flour in every way. My relationships are deeper. My energy is abundant. I have peace with food, freedom from cravings, and more control over my life and my future. I have created a strong identity around my new lifestyle, and I'm so grateful for my health coaching business. And I love to be able to help others to create extraordinary transformations in their lives. I'm really thankful every day for the miracle that I experienced of losing 125 pounds. And I want to share that hope with others who are struggling or overwhelmed. Those who are lacking confidence, because I remember feeling that way. And if I can do it, you can do it too. There is nothing special about me. Through a lot of struggle, I've learned the importance of a mindset of unstoppability, a good strategy, and consistent execution, which is the framework that I teach to my clients. I remember Googling and looking for someone who could help me. I wish that I had someone to guide me through the process, and that's why I became a health coach. And I'm dedicating my life to just help cut that learning curve for people so that they don't have to learn the hard way like I did. Having a health coach makes the transformation process so much faster, easier, and more fun. I offer one-to-one health coaching, which is the highest level of support to help you to be successful and build a strong foundation for healthy living for the rest of your life. You can follow me on social media and YouTube to check out my free weekly videos and daily posts. And if you'd like a free coaching call, sign up on my website at erinharthealthcoaching.com. I would love to help you with your program. I hope that this video gives you some hope and some insight into my experience. The impossible really is possible. You can change, you can achieve, you can thrive. I hope that you have a great week, and we will see you next Friday. Bye.